So there's a lot of people asking this question all over the internet. I see it on Facebook all the time. I see it on Instagram. I see it on TikTok. I see it all over the place. Where in the world are all of the home ec classes? Where are all the shop classes? Where are all of the vocational classes? I had these classes when I was in high school. This is what's wrong with the educational system today. Where are these classes? Why aren't kids getting the chances to take these classes anymore? There are articles all over the internet like these.
A quick Google search comes up with quite a bit. The AI overview even says that enrollment in our classes has significantly declined, and part of that is because of budget things, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that kids aren't signing up for classes because our enrollment is driven directly by who signs up for them. We're also looking at things from all sorts of different articles that say the loss of home ec has done things to our culture because kids aren't learning these things in their classes. Also, despite a revamped focus on real-life skills, home ec classes fade away. I don't know about you, but even though I'm pretty pale, I'm not really faded away. Schools are not abandoning these classes. Like I mentioned, the enrollment in these classes is driven by the registration. So if we don't have kids signing up for them, then we don't have enrollment. We're not really struggling with that in a lot of schools. And this particular article, if you read down in it quite a bit, it was a little bit of an odd take on things, but how America abandoning home ec and making adulting an achievement, those kind of things seem a little bit at odds with each other because home ec would be adulting. And then finally, if high schools offered AP home ec classes, maybe teens would take it again because we've devalued these classes because we're saying that they're not academically rigorous, whereas a lot of our classes actually are very academically rigorous.
Here's the short answer to this question. We're still here. So let's talk about this a little bit and get to know where exactly these classes are, how they exist, how you get your kids into them, and what this all looks like now. As some of you may know, I'm a teacher. I just finished up my 17th year of teaching. I have been in the same school the entire time. It's been an incredible experience. But part of what teachers have to do is we have to teach. And I am kind of a part of two departments. And what I mean by that is I'm a part of one large department and then I'm a part of a smaller department. So part of what I'm going to do with this is teach you about those two departments. The large department is what used to be called vocational classes. And so you'll hear people say, what happened to vocational classes in school? And that's where they're talking about things like home ec and shop class and drafting and those types of things. And the really easy answer to that question is we're still here. We're still all here and we're all still a cohesive department and we all work together really well. And that department is now called Career and Technical Education. And part of the reason for that is that vocational classes more focused on things that were not considered to be careers. They were either starter careers or considered to be not as big of a deal. But the reality of this world is that a lot of people in these careers now are making more money than people with four-year college degrees. And so the focus of these things has changed. So our department is not vocational anymore. It's called Career and Technical Education because our job is to set kids up for classes and for careers that they are able to just leave our classes and get jobs straight out of the gate, which that's what we want for our kids anyway. And so what I would like to challenge you guys for is to understand that just because something doesn't exist in the exact same name that you knew it as in high school doesn't mean that it doesn't exist as a whole. So vocational classes now equal career and technical education. It's a new name. So that's something that you need to understand when you're asking, where did this go? It didn't go anywhere. It's been there the whole time. Now, I'm also a big proponent of staying in your lane and knowing what you're talking about. So when it comes to things like shop classes, which are carpentry and things like that now, I'm going to let people that know more about those things talk about them. Our CTE department, our Career Technical Education department, also includes some business classes and some computer classes and things like that as well. But my mini department is called Family and Consumer Science, and that is where home ec went. My classroom door when I started back in 2008 was called home economics. It had like a sign on the door of it that said home economics. And so I did take that off when I started. Actually, for a while, I just covered it up with a sign, but then a little while later, I just took a screwdriver and took it off the door. But my building is called H building because it is the home economics building. And so we have had a little bit of a rebrand. And part of the reason for that is that our classes, which are the things that you learn in your home ec classes, you learn cooking, you learn sewing, you had like the little flower babies that you took home. Well, all of those different skills translate to things you can use in the workplace. Because a lot of us don't have time to cook at home, but we certainly go to places where people cook for us. That is a career skill. A lot of us may not have as much time to take care of our babies at home, but we certainly take our babies every day to get them cared for somewhere. That's early childhood education. That's a part of our department. A lot of us don't sew our own clothes at home, but we certainly go and buy our clothes places. That's fashion design, that's fashion merchandising, that's apparel classes. So that's a part of our department. A lot of us may not be sewing pillows for our homes. We might not be decorating our homes, but we are hiring interior designers. That's interior design. All of these things are a part of our family and consumer science department now, and they lead more to careers. And a large part of the reason that has changed is that I don't know about your family, but in my family, I don't have the option to stay home. Our household takes two incomes. Most households take two incomes. And so we're not just training people to be stay-at-home wives and mothers anymore. We're training people for vocations and jobs that they can do outside of the home because we don't have an economy anymore where one person can work and one person can stay at home. That's just not where we live anymore. And so if we don't change and we don't grow and we don't grow to meet the needs of what our communities are, then people don't sign up for our classes. So that's something that we need to be working on. Another thing that I'm seeing increasingly, and I'm going to put that article here, is that people are not signing up for home economics classes anymore, and we're struggling with enrollment and we're struggling with those kind of things. That may be the case some places, and it really is because some parents are saying, you need to be in AP courses, you need to be in higher level courses, you don't want to take any of those vocational courses because they're not going to help you in your career. By the way, parents, stop that, because you want your kids to actually be able to like cook and make things and like feed their families. So you might actually want them to learn the things that they're going to learn in that classes. But the other part about that is that we are not struggling for enrollment at my school especially. And the title of my class is Foods and Nutrition. And if you put the word food in the title of a class that high schoolers have the chance to sign up for, you're not going to struggle with registration or enrollment because high schoolers want to eat. And they get to in my class. We cook at least once a week once we get into that section of the class, which is about 4 or 5 weeks into class. And then we're cooking once or twice a week for the rest of the semester. And so that's something that kids really, really look forward to. Another thing that's kind of interesting is that at my school, I'm in North Carolina, and so we have the option to literally give the class's honors credit. And so they just get added into honors credit in our course. So kids can get honors credit for our classes while sitting in the same section as the other kids. They just have a few additional projects. And so kids can get honors credit for a foods and nutrition class within the section. And my food science class is honors on its own. So if you just take the class, it's honors. So you can still get those honors credits as you're getting other places and learn life skills and skills out in the world that you need. Another thing that we're seeing is that in fields like food science, we are not graduating anywhere close to what the actual food science field needs in terms of things. So if you want to encourage your kids to get into something that they're actually going to have a job, send them into food science. North Carolina State University has a huge food science program, and it's amazing. I got to go to a camp last summer for adults, which was super fun, and we got to learn a lot of different food science concepts and things, but they need your kids to go to school for food science and become food scientists. It's a great paying job, and you basically get to play with food all day. It's a great option for kids that have that science ability, but maybe you don't want to work in a regular lab. So that's something to think about. So family and consumer science classes are still around. And in reality, the fun part about it is they haven't really changed any at all since you were in school. This is my classroom. It has not really been updated very much since the 1960s. When I first started, all of the cabinets were brown. And so I realized pretty early on that when you have all of the individual stuff in the classroom, in the kitchens, that they get lost very easily. So I went into color coding the kitchen. So each of the kitchens is painted a different color, and then I got different color utensils for each of the kitchens. But all of my kitchens have not really been updated at all since the 60s. I've got newer appliances and things like that, but the cabinets are still the same ones. It's the same layout. And I'm actually teaching grandkids of the kids that took classes in my classroom back in the day. I actually this year got the first kid of a kid that I taught coming through orientation. I don't have them in my class, but that was a little bit of a shocker. So just in general, these classes haven't gone anywhere, and they don't look any different because, with school funding being what it is, most of them haven't even been updated that much. So if you are a parent getting your kids to sign up for high school classes and you're wondering why they should take foods and nutrition classes, there's quite a few reasons why this might be something you want to consider. The first of which is a little bit tough. The leading causes of death in the United States are almost all food related. So in general, heart disease is up, diabetes is up, and food is the main reason those are issues. And so these classes are going to teach you nutrition and things in a way that you're able to apply those things throughout their life. And your kids might come home teaching you things that you need to know about your diet and things you can do to improve the health outcomes that you have when you go to the doctor. Because we've all had situations where we've gone to the doctor and it's like, oh, you might need to do these things to lower your cholesterol or to improve your diabetic outcomes or things like that. And I'm teaching those things in my classes on a regular basis. So that's just something that you might want to consider. The other thing that you might want to consider is that the world is changing pretty dramatically in terms of how much things cost. I went to a drive-thru the other day to get food, and I remember when I was younger and our entire family could eat for like $6 at Wendy's, and like we all got like dollar things. It cost twice that for me, for just my meal. And so if fast food is costing that much, we are not going to be able to consistently eat fast food in that way and consistently eat out in that way. And so people are going to have to learn how to cook for themselves. And if they can learn that in a high school environment, that's a great way for them to be able to learn how to save money, but also to make sure that they have the health outcomes that they're looking for and making sure that they're not eating things that are going to contribute to health problems later on in life. One of the biggest contributors as well to a lot of the health problems that we have is literally eating out. Because if a restaurant is making food and they are trying to get people to come back, they're not going to stop before they put 2 sticks of butter and a cup of heavy cream into a set of mashed potatoes. But if we're making something, we're going to pause before we put that much stuff in, because we're going to be like, okay, I really don't necessarily want that inside my arteries and veins. But that restaurant is going to want you to continually come back. And if you taste those mashed potatoes with the 2 sticks of butter and the cup of heavy whipping cream, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to go back there. But you're also not looking up the nutrition facts on the website to realize that you might not be coming back there for long. So just keep in mind that cooking at home, you're going to have much better health outcomes than you are by going out to eat. Just because when you have an idea of what is going into your food, you make better decisions about the types of foods that you are eating, and you have a bigger connection to those things. The other argument that I hear pretty often, and I'll hear this from students as well, but I'll hear it from parents, is that, oh, I'll never work in food service. I just cannot stand it. I don't ever want to work there. And so in our second level courses, students get SERSA certification, and they have the option to take the certification test. And so, it's not necessarily something that everybody wants to do working in food service, But here's the thing. A lot of kids, even if they go to college, might end up working in food service just to pay the bills. And if you have CERSA certification, at a lot of places you get more money per hour. You have the opportunity to get promoted earlier. It's also something you can just put on your resume. And almost every CTE course that you have has some sort of certification like that. So that's just something that you want to think about, is that all of these CTE courses have some sort of what they call credential or a certification that is just something that can boost your kid's resume to make it look a little bit better. Even if it's not something that might be connected to a career or a degree that they might eventually need, it might be something that's just going to make them look a little bit better, like a little sticker on that resume that just punches it up a little bit. The other thing is that, yeah, you might say you might not want to work in food service, but I'll tell you one thing. If I were to lose my job today, I could walk out of the door of my house and have a job in food service within a couple of hours. Food service is always hiring, and in retail it usually takes a little bit longer for a job to work, but in most local places you can walk into a local restaurant and get a job within a day and be literally in the kitchen the next day. So there's a lot quicker turnover rate with restaurants because, yeah, it is a hard job, but if you want to get money on the table as quickly as you can, food service is the way to go. And having that CERSA certification in your back pocket, that is a great way to make sure that that job is yours when you walk in the door. So I always like to say never burn a bridge on purpose, and that's a great way to do it. Just make sure you get those certifications while you're in high school. I think one of the biggest points of this video is that I see a lot of complaining and griping online about the things that schools don't offer or do offer now. And a lot of it is dead wrong because people don't really take a couple of seconds to even ask a teacher that they know. Almost everybody I know knows a teacher. And if you don't, you probably don't know enough people. But find out, talk to somebody, figure out before you start griping about what your school does and does not offer, if they actually offer it, because a lot of times it probably is there, or it's at least a school in the county that kids are offered busing to. And if it's not there, then you can start doing the digging into why. Because generally, if it's not offered in a particular area, it has something to do with funding, because CTE, Career Technical Education, is funded nationally by something called Perkins money, and states have to ask for that money and qualify for that money. Before you just repost articles or repost gripes or repost things, just do a little bit of a search, look things up, and when you are searching for things, go beyond that little AI search at the top of Google, because I'm gonna be honest with you, half the time that AI search is dead wrong, and go a little bit further down and find out the good things that CTE, Family and Consumer Science, business departments, carpentry departments, any of those things are doing. There's all sorts of different CTE things that are going on in communities, that are going on in states, that are really, really cool and really neat. And I think that everybody can benefit from them as long as they are finding out where they're going on and whether they're available. And also, stop talking about CTE or vocational classes as being something that is completely separate and less than the 4-year pathway. Because the fact of the matter is that a lot of people in those professions are making more money than the people in the 4-year pathway. And a lot of them don't have student loans. So don't think about it as an either or. Think about it as a both and. Because all of us can learn things from CTE courses that we can take and go on and use those things not only in our homes, but in careers, or even just to talk to people that are coming into our homes and being professionals. So, for example, if you take a carpentry CTE course while you're in high school and you have somebody come into your house to work on something in your house, you might have just enough knowledge to be able to tell whether they're doing a good or bad job. Those types of things are good things to know. If you take a business essentials class in high school, you might learn enough about running a business to know whether or not things are being done correctly in your own small business, and or if you're just working for a small business, to give some little hints to help out in spreading the word about stuff. If you take a family and consumer science class while you're in high school, so if you're taking like a child development class, you might learn things that could literally save your child's life once you grow up and have kids. So stop thinking about these classes as things that you don't need to take if you're in a 4-year school. Think about these as things that are not only enrichment, but things that are essential. So thank you so much for watching this video, for considering this video, for thinking about these things in ways that are different. I know this is a little bit different video than I normally do, but I think that is something that's really, really important for us to understand about the way that classes work, the way that the world works, and I hope that you were able to learn something about career and technical education, about family and consumer science, and where all these classes went, because we haven't gone anywhere, we're still here.